In the earlier video, we worked with the date data query or table, and we used DAX, and you can see here, to create a number of calculated columns, such as the number of the day, the name of the month, the number of the quarter, and even the financial year and year numbers. And these calculated columns using DAX all worked off this short date field. So what Power BI does is behind the scenes it identifies in any of your queries, maybe support tickets, it identifies any date fields. And what it does is it automatically turns them into date hierarchies, as you can see here with date completed and date created. And the date hierarchy, if you hit the chevron, appears when you expand things. So behind the scenes, Power BI identifies any dates and it transforms them into date hierarchies so that you can use these for your visuals. And a lot of these date tables are actually hidden tables. And many data analysts actually prefer to create their own date tables, just like I've created this date table, as best practice, because the date tables and the date hierarchies that Power BI create actually take up a lot of space. They're actually really big and they can create performance issues. So what we do, as I did, and we saw in this earlier video, we imported a date data table and we created, using DAX, a number of useful date related fields. And now I really want to mark this as my date table and not use the hidden ones that come with Power BI. So to mark this as my date table, I'm simply going to right click it, and here is the option here, mark as date table and mark as date table. From there, it looks at the columns in that particular table and really identifies that there's only really one column that could be used as the primary date column. So I'm going to choose short date, and validation was successful, and I'll choose OK. So I've created my own date table and not using the hidden ones. So I'm now going to actually complete this by going into File and going into Options and Settings. And Options again. And from here I'll be able to choose Data Load on the left-hand side. And when I go to Data Load, I've got to make sure that I untick Auto Date Time. And this stops Power BI from creating large, badly performing hidden tables for date hierarchies. So I take this tick off and I choose OK. And so now the dates are driven by my particular date data table. So that's considered best practice, and I'd like you to do that. Now that I've done that, I need to add my date data table as part of the model or the relationships in this Power BI file. So I'm now going to go to my model view, and here it is here, which we sort of looked at in an early video and just sort of like tossed it aside as far as what we were going to do with it. But now that this is marked as my date table, I want to create a relationship between the short date and some of the dates in the sales table and in the support tickets. And then that will be my road into these other tables. So you don't have to link everything to everything. So I'm actually going to take my short date here and I'm going to drag it onto my date created in here. Date created rather than date complete. And once I drop it on there, I can see there's now, and if I rest on the line, there's a one-to-many relationship through short date to date created between the date table and the support tickets table. And that's what I wanted to create. So we've successfully linked the date table and the support tickets table, and then that will allow me to flow through to other tables when I'm creating visualizations. But I don't have a connection between the date table and sales on this side of the equation. Now I can't really drag short date to sales because the only date related field I want to connect to in sales is the order date, and it's a key, which means it's the 4 digits for the year, 2 digits for the month, and 2 digits for the day. So that doesn't match short date, but it does match the date key in my date table. So I literally want to drag date key from my date table and drop it on order date key in the sales table. And that's created the relationship that I want to see between those two tables. So the data has to be matching, otherwise it makes no sense. So that's the relationship I want between those tables, and that gives me access to all the dimensional tables on that side of the model. And this is the relationship I want to see between these two tables, and that gives me access to all the tables on that side of the model. So I'm now going to save what I've done with my relationships, and I'm now ready to start making some measures. So I'll go back to my report view and next video.